by Dr. Nina Anderson and our psychology major, Janelle Wanzer. But I want to give you a little background about Dr. Nina Anderson. Dr. Nina Anderson is an affiliate member, researcher in the psychology department. She's a new addition to our psychology department, and she has a background in nursing. She has a doctorate in nursing, and she owns her own practice. However, she's also a researcher, and she is here partnering with Delaware State University, focusing on health disparities. She has a lot of opportunities. Okay, she also has some external partnerships with Johns Hopkins, and I can allow her to tell you about TOVA. She's also working on a sickle cell project here at Delaware State University. So we have some great things that we're doing here at Delaware State University in the psychology department as it relates to increasing and adding to our research portfolio. Would you like to add something additional?
I just want to say thank you for having me. And as Dr. Scott Jones says, is that one of the things I feel very passionate about is taking care of patient populations that nobody wants to take care of. But as far as for sickle cell and the work that I've done, I've published in medical journals and I do a lot of work nationally. I think it's really important that, patients that have chronic pain, that we treat them effectively based on evidence-based practices, because we are seeing a surge in the number of people who are overdosing from opioids. And since we're in the Department of Psychology, and we know that at least for my population, about 60% of them are depressed, it makes sense that we really provide very holistic care. But it's also important for you to be aware of what's going on out there publicly, and maybe it might inspire you to want to do some research in this area. As Dr. Scott Jones says, is that I'm interested in increasing the portfolio of research projects here. I've been successful in procuring lots of grants as well, statewide and federally. So Janelle Wanzer was my student this year. I do take on students or semesters if you're interested. And one of the topics that she worked on with me is doing a very thorough research about chronic pain. So I just want to introduce Janelle, and she's going to present on understanding your pain, and then I'm going to share a little bit about more what I do. And then at the end, we'll take questions and comments with Dr. Scott Jones and I and Janelle. All right, so we were promised chairs, so we'll get started, okay? So welcome Janelle Wanzer. Please give her love and show her a lot of support. It takes a lot to get up here and present with her student body, so show her love, please. Okay.
So everybody can hear me fine without the mic? So I'm going to get started. Today, we're here to do a presentation on understanding your pain. And I'm going to do Dr. Anderson, also Ms. Susan. Before we get started. Oh, can someone do the slides? Can I get a volunteer? So, I'm a senior, majoring in psychology. I was graduating next semester. And okay, so many of you have seen this flyer before. This is the flyer that I actually used to promote the event and hand out so that people can have an understanding of what it is that I want to come in and talk about today. So we chose this flyer and we used the pictures on the side first to represent Delaware State. And second, because I feel like it captures chronic pain as a whole and what someone who deals with this type of condition deals with it. Okay, so that leads us to what is chronic pain? Chronic pain is something that is persistent and it lasts for a duration of 3 months or longer. It lasts past normal healing time, normal tissue healing time. So, say you have an injury or anything, and they give you medicine, it's 3 months and it's still taking the medicine, you got your doses up, and nothing is working. Now you have a condition called chronic pain that you suffer from, and it takes more than just medicine to treat this condition, well, to help this condition. Okay, so to understand chronic pain, you have to understand that with self-diagnosis, it's not any symptoms that you can go to your doctor and feel that you're having, and your doctor cannot diagnose you with it. This is something that you have to diagnose yourself with. You go to the doctor, you tell them you're feeling pain, they try to work out a treatment plan for you and see where it goes from there. Sometimes they think it's acute pain, so they start with something slight, such as Percocet or something, to try to see what's the real problem. You see, it's oftentimes no cure because it's pain, it's persistent. And 1 minute there, the next minute it's not. So, as it's been a cycle, it's been a cycle in both the physical body and the mental and the emotional body. Because your emotions react to your physical pain. And it sends you into a state of depression because you're constantly thinking about pain, constantly thinking about, oh, I won't be able to do this today. My health is not right, like I'm not in the right state of mind. So I have this picture that shows the cycle that one starts to think about build up their future and how they might want to succeed because of their condition. That leads them to have more persistent pain because of the psychological trauma that they have associated with the physical pain. So when the pain is persistent, then they become less active, and when they're less active, they lose fitness and they don't want to exercise or walk around because it becomes too painful. They also become frustrated and stressed because of the pain. It's persistent, like there's nothing they can do. It's really, say one day you wake up with a stomach ache and it never goes away. How would you feel? Like, it just really would mess up your day and wouldn't make you feel motivated to go out and do the things you had done. Okay, so the epidemiology is in the United States, over the years, chronic pain has become a permanent problem. As you can see in the picture, it says chronic pain affects more people than diabetes, heart disease, and cancer combined. As we all know, cancer is a disease no one wants to come in contact with. It's something that everyone is kind of like, on edge, like, no, you think this is a big problem. You see many new cases of cancer every day. That's something that they put in the news, something that they want to make aware to everyone. But they don't tell you about chronic pain and what effect that can have and how that affects more people than any of these other diseases. So right now, as of 2018, we have 100 million people in the United States who suffer from chronic pain alone. That's not to go with any of the other problems that chronic pain brings about. Then you have 11.5 million people who misuse opioids, which are the medicine to treat chronic pain. These are kind of like your Percocets, like I mentioned, Vicodin and oxycodone. And because of that, 115 people die in the United States every day as a result of using opioids. Whether they're misusing it, using it the correct way, no matter how they still can end up dying instead. So then we have 2.1 million people who have an opioid use disorder. These are the people who are dependent on opioids, who need them every day to kind of maneuver through the day, to do and make sure that they have a productive day. They take opioids to get through it. And for the last one, we have 1,756 teams will try a new prescription drug for the first time every day. So just imagine all these things. 1 minute they try a drug, could be recreational use, could be something that their friend introduced them to. Then the next minute they're dependent. And it's something that it's the drugs, opioid drugs can be synthetic and they can be prescription. So it's not something that you can only find inside of a clinical setting. It's something that you can find on the street. It's something that you can buy, something that's man-made. So it's different types, and just imagine the amount of people who use it every day for recreational use and for clinical. Okay, so here's the opioid epidemic. Many of you, well, I'm not gonna say many, some of you may be from the state of Delaware. You know, this is a small state, and it has a real big problem with opioids. So as of November 29, 2018, there had already been 271 cases of death this year due to opioids. So that's to go with your heroin, which is a synthetic opioid, the Percocet, which is prescribed by the doctor. Many of you know people all over on the street. Then you have other strong medicine like tramadol and stuff that's prescribed to people, and some people go and sell those too. So many people just get opioids from wherever they can. In 2015, the providers in Delaware alone wrote 768,974 prescriptions for opioids. That's a lot in 2015 just for one small state. And that's 80 prescriptions for every 100 persons. So that's a lot. That's a problem. Compared to the national statistics, which is 4 million cases of opioid dependence is brought about worldwide. Like everyone, they go do a survey from all states, and they came up with this that 4 million people depend on opioids. And in 2017, it was 191 million prescriptions written for opioids. So that's 58 prescriptions for every American. And I also have this picture at the top that says the number of painkiller prescriptions. It says doctors wrote 259 million prescriptions. Well, they write 259 million prescriptions each year just for painkillers. And out of those prescriptions, 1 out of 3 Americans took at least 1 prescription for that. So this is a really big prevalent problem that has surfaced in the United States, and initiatives are being taken to handle it. Okay, so these are the global statistics. And it says 227 million people suffer from opioid disease. These are the people that's dependent, that needs it, who may go and get their doses up here and there because their tolerance becomes too low for the drug because of how many they take a day. And that's roughly about 450,000 people who died as a result of drug use to opioids in 2015. Out of that 450,000, 118,000 was caused because of the opioid. Many people who do have a high tolerance and can't take like high doses, they still overdose as a result, or even at the low dose. You could be taking a 5 milligram Percocet and overdose. It all depends on how you use it and when you use it. We have another picture that says for every death due to opioids, 10 people go to the hospital to receive treatment. 32 people go to the emergency department for a visit because of their use or they're dependent on it. And 130 people who are just misusing it altogether. So, managing chronic pain. The way to manage chronic pain, one is opioids, which are painkillers, which they bind to your opioid receptors in the body to make you more, to relieve the pain, to give you relief from the pain. And I mentioned before, they're harmful to the body. They have all types of negative side effects, which most people are not aware of. This could be codeine, morphine, Vicodin, oxycodone, oxycodone, any one of those that in this one. Then you have your non-pharmacological interventions, which are your therapies that are introduced by psychologists or psychiatrists. These are techniques that don't involve medicine, techniques that involve using your body, such as in yoga or many other therapies that doesn't use painkillers. For self-care, those are ways in which you can manage at home, ways that you as a person came up to manage your own pain. No one else can tell you oh, that don't work, oh, this is not a good idea. That's something that you do for yourself to manage your pain, to understand what works for you. Okay, so we have a picture that shows how chronic pain is across the lifespan. And as you can see, it's more prevalent in females between the ages of 15 to 24, and then 40 to 84. And then in males between the ages 30 to 44, they have more prevalent cases. You can see how it differs between males and females. Okay, so self-management is key. So your self-care is to expand on improving patients mentally and physically. These are ways that people self-manage at home again so that the patient can try to start to think positive and try to stay in the positive mindset so that they are not feeling helpless and feeling like they can't do something for the day. They want to be able to cope without using drugs. So one way I looked at how self-management is key, I looked at a Danish study which was geared towards patient education and the improving self-efficacy of the patient, which is they wanted to increase their belief that the patient can set goals and reap those goals on how to manage chronic pain in their life on their own. And wanted to give them the tools and get them workshops will get towards educating them on their own illness. So the study consisted of 6 2.5-hour workshops which wanted to manage chronic pain in daily life. During the workshop, they had support groups where they can share learning and share their experience on what they know about chronic pain. And they also had share how to cope with it, like with different methods of coping through which each person learned on their own. So they shared those tips and shared things that they can do with other people so that they can have a full understanding of the condition on their own. So with this study, on average, participants attended 5 out of 6 of the sessions, and most of them were satisfied with the program, feeling like they have improved a little bit and feeling like when they go home that it is a new method that they can try instead of running to the doctor to receive a drug that they may or may not use or may not get the relief that they need. Okay, so after going through all my research and looking, I came up with a plan or recommendation. And some of the best practices I used or thought was the best for people with this condition was one was physical therapy, which allowed the patient to determine their underlying cause of pain and then to administer treatments such as physical exercises to strengthen and improve their stamina with their ligaments and moving so that, they won't have pain because, oh, I just don't move this arm enough. So that their muscles and stuff still can be strong. Another is electrical brain stimulation, which is electrotherapy, and they attach those to your head and send current through your brain to try to attack your pain receptors so that you won't feel any pain. And as of now, they have invasive and non-invasive clinical use of this. Electrical brain stimulation is also used to treat depression, which is something that also can go along with chronic pain, with feeling hopeless and stuff. So then the next we have cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a psychosocial intervention to improve mental health and foster more healthy and positive thoughts into the person. This is to improve their emotional state so that it won't become a cycle, so that you can break the cycle of having the emotional pain and feeling the physical pain. So with that, I found that healthcare professionals do not receive adequate training or education during their residency and during time while they're in school to deal with someone who has chronic pain. On average, I read a study that said they spend about 48 minutes in one day learning about chronic pain compared to the 5 or 6 years during school. So this is really like a subspecialty field that people have to pick up on their own. And then though some doctors may not want to take the time out to actually show patients that they care and show patients the attention that they need, that they kind of tell other students like, yeah, this is not a good subspecialty, this is not something that you enjoy, trying to down talk, I guess, the subspecialty so that people won't really go into. But this is something that we need the most. So with the training of healthcare professionals, one, they need to know when to declare failure in the treatment. They need to know whether this treatment is helping, hurting, and the signs of when to stop. Because some people are not aware of their own condition, and they feel as though opioids is supposed to help everything. That's not the case. You need more than just opioids to help your condition get better. So we think healthcare professionals need to be trained more. The self-management workshops, I looked at 2. One was the chronic knee pain study, which they list chronic knee pain as the major cause of disability worldwide. And they will meet for once a week to have informal group discussion on promoting sharing learning and to give advice. So with this study, many participants dropped out halfway through and they wasn't really into the study because they didn't feel like they had learned anything due to previous discussions. So they decided not to come. But the people who stayed, they was offered physical therapy or water therapy to try to assist with the group discussion to see how that would affect them and see if that would cause a change. So with this, the participants who stayed in the study, they felt that their overall health had improved and it helped them out with new methods of coping on their own or just dealing with it. Another self-management workshop I looked at was called STEP, which stands for Self-Trained and Educated Pain Session. It was a 2-day pre-clinic program where they wanted to promote active self-management and educate about the pain process and what it takes to go through that. So the sessions, they used 3 different doctors. So they used a pain consultant physician, they used a psychologist and a physiologist to assist with helping them cope and teaching them methods of pain. So they figured that these would be a session that you can go to in between waiting to receive care and actually receiving care. So they figured with these sessions they would kind of help the patient improve a little more before they actually receive care. But they came to find out that the study had no significant result. Everyone was still like feeling the same way about pain as they did coming into the session even. They only did 2 sessions for about 3 hours a day, so that could be a reason why. Back to the education of patients and healthcare providers. Patients feel like it's the doctor's job to know about their condition, to know which steps work, what don't work, what may help or may hurt them. They also feel like it's the doctor's decision to tell them like, yeah, you need to do this and do this. They feel like they don't have no say-so in their own. When actually, the patient needs to be educated just as well as the doctor, just as much as the doctor. So that it's something that can work for you and the doctor keeps pushing it on you. You can tell the doctor, yeah, this not working, we need to try this and that thing, like, we need to move to something different because this is not what I did for myself. So, with the transformation of healthcare delivery model, we decided that it should be more of a multidisciplinary approach. It's something that all doctors have to work together to do to treat, and not just your primary care doctor, because there's only so much knowledge that one doctor has on the subject. Okay, so the multidisciplinary approach. It says, let's work together to treat chronic pain, and these are all the things you need to go together to effectively treat chronic pain. So we want to start with your primary care provider. This is the first doctor that you report the pain to. The first doctor that you go to aid for referral to a pain consultant, to say that you need more tests done. The first doctor that you go to aid with help and starting your treatment plan. Okay, then you have your psychologist and your psychiatrist to help with the mental emotional state, to help with depression and therapies, which are your non-pharmacological interventions. To assist with the therapies and how to incorporate that into your training and into your new medicine. And then you have the physical and occupational therapy, which is physical activity to increase your strength and stamina, to make you feel more energized, and physical therapy also that can help with the depression. So that helps kind of with the psychologist and the psychiatrist too. But it's to just make you feel better or energized, have the energy to actually go out and do it. Then you have your physical medicine and rehabilitation. That's actually a branch of medicine. I just found that out from research. So it's an actual branch of medicine. And it's actually called physiology. And it aims to enhance and restore functional ability and the quality of life to those with physical impairments or disabilities. So people who have, like, due to their chronic issue, they can't walk one day because it's too painful. They'll go to the physical medicine rehabilitation center to help with that. And then you have your palliative care, which helps, well, that's actually branch of medicine too. And it basically helps people who have life-limited illnesses. So this can be cancer patients, chronic illness patients, any person who has a chronic condition that limits them in any type of way. We're going to palliative care, and they focus on providing relief from the symptoms instead of providing relief from symptoms and keeping the person comfortable and relaxed so that they can kind of manage on their own on a day-to-day basis. And then you have your social worker, which give patients access to resources that they may be unaware of, although they may have resources on their own. You can have government resources from the social worker, or they can give you, like, just little things that you may not know of, that you may be unfamiliar with. Then you have your nurse. The nurse plays a big part because they help identify and protect the needs that the individual has, and they also show, they're the ones who show you compassion and empathy and actually care for you throughout the whole process. Okay, so that brings us to safe alternatives of treatment chronic pain. We have your body-based, your energy-based, and behavioral. Your body-based are the therapies in which the therapist moves more than one or more parts of your body to administer the treatment. I use acupuncture, which is the picture to the left at the bottom. And they use that they insert into your body. You can do it in your head, the back, the face, any part of the body. They can do. And doing research, it say it may reduce pain, but it's not certain. So I'm guessing it depends on the person and the amount of pain that they are in once they go through to see whether it helps or not. And then your energy base which is, the goal is to bring energy into the patient by, sometimes they do it by touch, sometimes they do it with music or whatever thing. Said that they can do it by light, sound, or with magnet. So for this, I have the picture at the top, which is called breathing. And the therapist basically used their hands to try to channel energy throughout the patient and to relax them. So they just use touch to try to relax the patient and channel energy. So then you have your behavior, which it tells you how the environment influences your body, like the cause of it. Not the cause, but the effect of the environment onto yourself. So I have yoga because, as you all know, yoga takes the environment and the person. You have to be relaxed within your environment, and you also have to make sure that your body posture are correct in a certain type of way. So yoga helps with the mental and the physical or spiritual practices. And use breathing techniques and body postures to relax the body. And once the body is relaxed, then it reduces pain. Okay, that's all I have.
Great. So before we're going to have a multidisciplinary session with Dr. Scott Jones. She's a psychologist. My background is in nursing. I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about my role here at Delaware State University. I do have a couple slides.
You want to try to
Okay, so I just want to say that when Janelle started with me, she didn't really know much about chronic pain, but I could say that she is a premier expert now, right? She did a really good job. One of the things I just wanted to mention with you, again, I'm a clinician, I'm not a psychologist, but I do provide a holistic model to my patients' care, is that what you're seeing now is a surge in what we call opioid-induced hyperanalgesia, meaning that when providers escalate doses of the opioids, your body gets a excited response to the stimuli and a low pain threshold. And so for patients who, if he's constantly saying, I'm coming back in pain, and you constantly are going up on the pain medication, sometimes you can cause them more harm than good. We have to be really realistic about expectations with my patients. And again, I came from a school, I've been practicing for 20 years, where we believed the patient, we gave them doses of medications to keep them comfortable, and sometimes that wasn't optimal. And I had to change my practice because of this epidemic, but I learned a lot of this on my own, and I looked in the literature and worked with a lot of providers to try to provide less harmful approaches to patients. But when I talk to patients, I tell them that this is chronic pain, so it may never get better, but we want you functional. And I think that's really important when we see patients and provide care to them. Next slide. Again, multidisciplinary approach. I don't have all the answers, and so I work with other professionals, psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists, to provide the best plan of action for my patients who have chronic pain or who have sickle cell as well. Next slide. One of the things I think is emerging in medicine, and my background's in nursing, but I'm an expert in sickle cell anemia, is that mental health and physical health need to be put on the same paradigm. If I'm treating somebody with chronic pain, and about 60% of my adult patients live with chronic pain, then if I don't change their cognitive behavior and provide self-management tools and educate them better to take care of their themselves, then I'm not really doing a good job of managing their physical pain. And one of the things that we do in our support therapeutic sessions, at the end of each session, we do a mindfulness meditation exercise. And again, these are giving them tools so they know how to rechannel negative energy, if it's painful stimuli, in such a way that it helps to relax them and keep them present. Next slide. So when I decided to build a program for adults with sickle cell, I studied models of care. I looked at a way in which we could provide very coordinated care to patients that have a lot of problems, not necessarily their pain, their sickle cell disease, but also their mental health as well. And in Delaware at the time, there was no adult sickle cell program and no interest in really funding or providing resources for adults with sickle cell. And the reason why I did this is because I did a study which I presented at a national sickle cell conference where I tracked for 10 years all of my patients that transitioned out of the Children's Hospital. And what I found is that I lost 30% of my patients died from complications of sickle cell anemia in the first 5 years after they left. And that's what sparked me to try to do something to really provide a community-based coordinated program for adults. And then I'm not a hematologist. And so when I went to the medical community, hematologists spoke, "You're not a hematologist, what do you know about sickle cell?" Well, I've been doing it for a lot of years. And people with sickle cell just don't have problems with their blood cells. They have chronic conditions like Janelle said, diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, depression. And it makes sense that a nurse or a social worker provide their care and be that lead contact. Because we're not just dealing with their sickle cell, we're dealing with their whole entire health needs. Next slide. And so what I decided to do was to partner with an academic institution that really treated sickle cell patients well. And at the time, in 2014, they had cured 14 adults with a haplotype transplant for sickle cell. And I currently have one patient undergoing process for transplant to be cured of his sickle cell, and the other one is on a list for kidney transplant that is on dialysis because of the complications from his sickle cell. But to say that, it's really important to be around providers that really know how to treat patients well, and they have the expertise and the knowledge, and they're doing groundbreaking research to really improve the care. And so what I did when I developed this program, next slide, is I used technology. And so I brought Johns Hopkins to Delaware. In a satellite clinic, I work with doctors every month to share my concerns or any issues I have to manage them. And what is fantastic for me is that I work with a psychiatrist, Dr. Carroll, which is here, and he's an addiction medicine specialist and a specialist in treating sickle cell patients with chronic pain. And he has really helped me change the way I practice, really trying to limit the amounts of pain medication I provide, focus on their mental health, and then use them disease-modifying therapies and less harmful methods to treat my patients. Dr. Lance Grund is the hematologist, is the sickle cell expert, and then Lauren is the coordinator there. So we Skype every month, and I share patient issues with them, and that team helps me manage the patients here in Delaware. Next slide. So what it is a hub and spoke. And it uses the resources of an academic institution and brings it here. Well, the reason why I'm here is because I like to develop models of care, and actually I won Delaware Small Women-Owned Business of the Year because of the model that I built. But I think it's important that students have the opportunity to actually see patients and get that clinical care experience, which is a phase one I would say hub to translational research. And so Janelle was able to do a needs assessment on a sickle cell patient who had chronic pain. And she sat and met with her for about an hour and interviewed her. And I said, okay, I want her to be honest, because the literature is saying we need to prescribe less opioids for people with sickle cell. But then we do have patients that need the pain medications in order to function. And I wanted her to talk to somebody who was a Delaware State alumni who had challenges. She almost did not graduate. She had to take a whole semester off because there were no providers that really understood how to take care of her when she was at the Delaware State University in the 70s. But she was so tenacious, she was able to finally graduate. And she suffers from a lot of medical conditions beside her sickle cell. But it also is a step to really build what I consider here, what I would love to see as a center of excellence, where we bring Delaware State, the community, to Del State, and we provide services to the community, and we also develop a pipeline for community engagement research and participatory research. And Janelle was the first step of doing that, was just collecting data, qualitative data, on a patient and her experience, asking her questions about her pain, how she deals with her pain, and what does she think about these new guidelines that are coming out. Next slide. And so, as I said, and what Janelle found in her studies is that we really need more education about how do we take care of patients who have chronic pain. It needs to come from the patient as well as people like myself, providers. We need to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the patient. And it takes a village. I'm a nurse. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a social worker. But all of these disciplines are very important to me, and their opinion really matters how I take care of the patient. Next slide. So I just wanted to share with you, I've been really working hard to get the SCAT program up. This is a program where we're going to provide care coordination and outreach to students here with sickle cell. And we're going to help to manage their care here on campus with the goal of them to graduate. When they have those cycles of crisis, we want to be there to help them get through that. And we want them to get through school. So we want to bring in student disability services. And we want to have support groups. And we want to wrap as many intensive services around them and support so they have a great experience. And they're not like Leslie, who had to take a semester off because she couldn't get the support she needed to graduate here at Del State. Next slide. The other thing is that we didn't really talk about is medical marijuana. It is legal in Delaware. And I do have 2 patients that have medical marijuana. And for me, it's a controversial topic, and some of the literature has showed that cannabis can cause a lot of other side effects, hallucinations, paranoid, high sense of awareness, and also mood swings and other problems. But I think it's really important that we do the best for our patients. This patient of mine who has a medical marijuana card has had 4 hip surgeries, hip replacements. He has degenerative disc disease. And he has not been hospitalized in 6 months. He's been hospitalized once for crisis in a year. So again, we're talking about function and quality of life. We have to be very mindful of it and also let the patient know that even with that, you may never be able to make your pain a 0. But if you're functional and you're out, you're working, and you're doing the necessary things, as a provider, we try to do the best that we can for patients. Next slide. The other thing I do every year is sickle cell's National Sickle Cell Awareness Month is in September. And every year we have a race that we sponsor, and we love to get more of the students here involved. I also try to participate as well, and then I put together a committee where I actually try to get more of my patients involved in some of the outreach and community engagement efforts that we do. Next slide. In addition, I set up a TOBA fund, which is, my goal is to provide full scholarships for every student who has sickle cell that comes to Delaware State University. And now it's not at that level, but I hope to get it to a point where we'll at least be able to provide stipends. So once you guys graduate and come on and become very successful, please remember us and give what you can. We really appreciate that. Next slide. So I just want to say that these are some of my Delaware State alumni sickle cell warriors.
that I currently provide care for. For the last 2 years, but not this year, I will come down every month and provide a specialty clinic for the students here. And Jalita is in the middle here. She has sickle cell, and she graduated and still continued her care with me, and now is going to be going to dental school. And she's had lots of challenges through this time. She was diagnosed with a pituitary tumor. She has an enlarged spleen, and she has sickle cell disease. So even though she looks beautiful and she looks healthy, she does have a lot of medical problems. But despite that, she loves to travel, and she graduated here in this School of Education. And then Leslie on the other side is a 1970s alumni who said that had to drop out because of her sickle cell illness. Actually retired last year as a school teacher. So people with sickle cell living longer, and came down to the university to interview with Janelle to share her story about her experiences living with sickle cell. One of the other projects I'm working on is to develop a prototype for a medical home in which we provide care to the West Center City community in Wilmington, and we're looking for partners, especially social work and psychology, to provide services to a community that is so in need, that's blighted, where the statistics for opioid misuse, obesity, cancer, heart disease are very high. And unfortunately, we haven't had the resources allocated that we should, but we're going to continue on. And I think that just keeping the word out that this is a necessary service. Delaware ranks 33rd in the nation in healthcare costs with poor outcomes. We've got to find better ways to manage populations of people. Next slide. So I just want to say that for me, I still consider myself a visionary. I see big things here at Delaware State, but medicine must be done by collective effort, and I hope that some of the seeds I plant here will become trees, and that we really continue to do a lot of projects to create a nice portfolio of research projects. I also want to say Michael Bloomberg just donated $50 million to combat opioids. There's a lot of attention now and resources available, so that may be opportunities to do research in that area. Next slide. And then Delaware, again, significant increase in overdose deaths. So this is something that if you're interested, I think it's a great opportunity to do projects around. Next slide. And again, just looking for opportunities to partner with Delaware State. Again, I have a practice in Wilmington. You can take information on TOVA. But I like to leave 5 minutes to take questions and answers. And I'd like to bring Dr. Scott Jones up because she's the psychologist and the expert in that area. And I'm a clinician, and Janelle, who's now, I would say, an expert in chronic pain. Thank you so much. I hope you learned something.
And this will be of interest to the student. The patient that was receiving cannabis, marijuana,
yes.
Were they using Reggie or gas?
Oh. Well, let me say.
To cause the hallucinatory phenomenon.
I want to say this. I've been told that to get you buy medical marijuana,
Sorry. No, not yet.
for both sides. And unfortunately, I don't really know. I think he's getting it on the street. Well, he said he vapes. Vaping? Oh, yeah.
Is it Reggie or Val?
I'm not familiar with that, so please help me out.
Reggie is regular marijuana, and the gas and the loud stuff. It's called
Is that too?
It might be. It's probably vaping probably pretty strong.
Yeah.
Medical marijuana is pretty strong.
Yeah, the concentration of THC is a lot more concentrated than they get on the street too. So that could be a contributory factor of why people are having some of these side effects.
About palliative care and hospice. Is it the same thing or is it something different?
Palliative care can also, it can be hospice. So palliative care is keeping a patient functional, but not necessarily throwing on a whole bunch of medications to try to treat a problem. It's to maintain their quality of life, which is hospice is more or less keeping them comfortable in their stages of illness, right? But if your palliative care is, for some of the patients, I do provide that model. I have a 77-year-old with sickle cell, chronic kidney disease, chronic pain. I'm not going to throw them on a whole bunch of medicines. I want to try to keep them comfortable and keep them functional and maintain this quality of life. And so the goals are different for him than it would be for another patient that's younger.
First, I'd like to say it's a very nice presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, you mentioned that you are interested in combining different specialties in order to manage chronic pain. I'm interested in knowing if you ever considered combining different treatment methods to manage chronic pain. For example, maybe slight opioid use with a recommendation of physical therapy and maybe acupuncture, or a combination of things like that, and what kind of results that would be.
I do. For my patients, so they're on opioids and they have an agreement with me. They have to get something, physical therapy, they have to go for therapeutic counseling, they have to try some additional things before I just say just constantly giving pain medications. I think that that's been the problem is we have these, I call them pain pill mills that just write prescriptions for people, but they're not really getting a very multidisciplinary approach. But I think Dr. Scott Jones can speak to the fact that people with chronic pain, a lot of them suffer from depression. So really, what's their biggest issue? Is it the depression or is it the chronic pain? You got to change their behavior to get them function.
Also with chronic pain, it could also be dysfunctional aspect of the neurotransmitters, cannabis, which is also natural. And one of the things we're doing with research now, research is getting a little bit more cutting edge, when you begin to look at it from a neuroscience perspective, if you're also looking at the neurotransmitters in the head to understand, this is why medical marijuana is approved, because they were able to take a look at the natural cannabinoids, which is the neurotransmitters that we have in our head. But more specifically, secondary, when a person is experiencing a certain amount of pain, it can cause a great deal of personal distress. It can cause the individual not to feel well. I was also taking a look at where you said that in your article number 2, you spoke about vitamin D. And oftentimes in abnormal psychology, when we were talking about mood disorders, I made reference to the importance of having appropriate vitamin D levels, because lack of appropriate vitamin D can contribute to not only some medical complications, but also depression. Okay? And absolutely, when you have a lot of pain and a lot of things that can stem from your brain functioning as well, it can also cut across your serotonin level, which could lower serotonin and also create a great deal of depression.
Other questions? Comments?
And the treatment should be simultaneous in anyone that's receiving, I believe, chronic pain, because I see people after hours in the emergency department who are pain seekers, who don't understand. They go to the doctor, they go to multiple doctors, a neurologist, they even have pain management doctors. They also go and get to their primary care doctors. They have 3 doctors where they're receiving some type of pain medication. Oftentimes, they may even be receiving, and we didn't talk about this today, but a benzodiazepine, okay, because they're drug seekers. And once they're out of control with getting the medication from the pharmacy, or they're unable to get the medication from the pharmacy, then they begin to start to use the synthetic form of opioid, and that would be your heroin. And you don't have to use it. You ask them when you question them. Oftentimes the patients will tell you they use a bundle a day. When they don't have that bundle a day, they go through withdrawals. Bundle a day would be approximately 13 bags of heroin. Okay? And sometimes they use more, and it costs money. You're talking about approximately $60. So you're wondering and thinking, where do they get the money? That's where you have a lot of maladaptive behaviors that take place, where you need social work. You need your behavioral health care individuals to also work with the individuals so that they can do some cognitive restructuring. Cognitive restructuring is to change the way that they think about their situation.
One more question based on that. You said that the chronic pain and the depressive symptoms go hand in hand. What kind of process do you go about determining which one is the primary disorder?
You would treat, you know that they have the existing of the pain. Sometimes you don't know. It's almost like a doctor treating the person if they have, with their substance-related disorders, if they have substance-related disorders, and then they have co-occurring comorbidity, and they have also a mental health condition. Now what the research is saying, you treat them simultaneously. You take that holistic approach or integrative care in treating the individual so that you can target, because sometimes you don't know which one happened before the other. If I had to be a betting woman, I would have said that they're self-medicated and that they had some initial psychological problems, but that would have been as opinion by me. But more specifically, it's important, it's vitally important to treat those particular issues simultaneously.
And in my practice, every patient is a depression screen once a year. I think it's really important because you don't know which one caused what first, but you have to get to the core of the problem. And a lot of times it's their maladaptive behaviors that they're trying to self-medicate to cope. And I just want to mention too, as Dr. Scott Jones says, that what killed Whitney Houston, it was a combination of drugs. It was crack cocaine, benzodiazepines, Flexerol, and Benadryl. She took all of that in combination and took a bath and sunk down. So when they're at that point where they're really trying to just exist, and they're just trying to keep their body in some type of stability, they will try all kinds of combinations of things to keep stable. They don't want to go through withdrawal as well, but a lot of it stems from their issues. I would say, and I'm a clinician, but I really think it's important that we have that integrative approach, that multidisciplinary approach when we're taking care of patients, because you can't treat pain well, and I would say it's just not good practice, even for my sickle cell patients, just to give pain medications without addressing their mental health state, providing physical therapy, and bringing in other disciplines to really provide that holistic approach to their care. And for hematologists and other providers that do that, that's just not good. Any other questions? Yeah. All right. There's some snacks in the back. Thank you. Good
Make
luck
sure
with the
you
rest of
sign
the
somebody's
semester.
paper. Make sure you sign one side of the paper.
Yeah.
Where's the other side?
Yeah.